Hi there YouTube, it's been a while. Welcome back at CK Sim Racing. No matter if you're new to iRacing or if you've already gotten out of rookies, sooner or later you will either cause an incident or you'll be drawn into one caused by another driver. And in both cases, iRacing's penalty system comes into effect. In this video, we'll explore how many incident points will be awarded for certain actions and how they can be avoided. Well, at least sometimes. The very first thing to know about incidents in iRacing is that gaining incident points will have a negative effect on your safety rating. If you manage to finish a race at 0 incident points, you will definitely be rewarded with a safety rating gain. The more you collect in a single race, the higher the chance of actually losing safety rating. Now, let's have a look at what all that means first. There are basically just 3 different amounts of incident points that you can gain at a time. The 1x, the 2x, and 4x. But there is another one which serves a very specific purpose, 0x. And then there is a maximum allowed amount of incident points per race before you'll be disqualified, depending on the length of the race.
0x.
A light contact with a wall or another car will award you and the other driver a 0x. The wall isn't gonna be penalized. A light contact will be everything ranging from slightly scraping against the wall, light pushing, and even a bit of door banging, which sometimes is inevitable. Getting a 0x means that your safety rating isn't going to be affected by the incident, but your current lap will be invalidated since it still counts as an incident. This might not be that big of a deal in a warm-up or even a race, but in qualifying, your current lap won't count. So a little bit of door banging or even bump drafting and slight pushing won't affect your safety rating, but that shouldn't actually encourage you to get into cuddling territory too often. It's still best to avoid contact completely unless you absolutely know what you're doing.
1x.
Going too far off track may not only grant you a slowdown penalty if you cut the track too much, but almost always you'll be awarded with a 1x for an off track. This is probably the #1 incident caused by all iRacing players in total. Off-tracks happen so frequently due to the slightest of mistakes, and before you even notice it, you'll be disqualified by an off-track after a series of unfortunate actions that might have happened before. You see, every track, corner and chicane has its own limits, so unfortunately I can't tell you exactly how the track limits are drawn for all tracks, but as a general rule of thumb on how to avoid getting too many off-tracks, try not to cut curbs too much since it'll also destabilize your car, which can cause even further trouble. Avoid crossing the white lines. These are literally drawn in order to tell you this is where the track ends. Also, touching grass and gravel should be completely avoided because both of these surfaces will lead to losing grip with wheels that are touching it, and sooner or later you'll lose control. Pro tip: if you're going below 50 km per hour or 30 miles per hour respectively before going off track, you will not receive a 1x for that. Probably the best ways to find out where the limits are on each track is to either watch track guides on YouTube or, even better, who would have thought, get out there into either private or public practice sessions and find it out all by yourself.
2x.
A 2x will be awarded if you make serious contact with walls or other barriers. So scraping a bit of paint is not a serious contact, as we've learned before, since this will award just a 0x. Oftentimes a 2x will also damage your car so that you will notice it by the driving performance afterwards. Losing control of your car will also award a 2x, and by losing control, iRacing actually means it. If you should only experience a little snapping from a bit of oversteer, this doesn't count as a loss of control. Neither does a brake lockup count as such. Turning sideways by roughly 90 degrees as a result of too much throttle on corner exit will certainly lead to a 2x, as much as a loss of control from braking will also do. And even if you should manage to catch a 360 no-scope like a boss, you'll still be given a 2x as an award for your efforts.
4x.
And finally, a 4x for heavy contact between cars is awarded only in paved forms of racing, meaning sports cars, formula cars, and oval racing. In any dirt oval and dirt road incident, you'll be given a 2x even for the hardest of contacts, since contact between cars is more accepted in these disciplines according to iRacing. These 4 or 2 incident points will always be given to both drivers who are affected by the incident, no matter who caused it. I mean, like it or not, iRacing calls it a fault-free penalty system, and I guess it is what it is for now. You may find that as your license improves, incidents feel like they impact your safety rating way more significantly. And this is because your safety rating is based on the amount of corners you take per incident. iRacing calls this CPI. If your CPI is very high because you're a clean driver, incidents in a more recent session will have a higher effect on your CPI. The further you go into your iRacing career, the less impactful incidents from older sessions will be. This is why it seemingly will feel more difficult to gain safety rating once you're progressing upwards in your license class. So maybe this will answer to you why you're gaining way more safety rating when finishing a race with 0 incident points at the Nordschleife compared to a track with way fewer corners like Monza, even if both races lasted for the same duration. Depending on which phase of a session you're in, incidents will have a different impact on your CPI and your safety rating. Once the official event has started, meaning the one where you have like 2 minutes of practice followed by 8 minutes of qualifying, followed by a 2-minute gridding phase, and the actual race after that, once you're in there, your safety rating will be impacted by incident points. You've heard that right, even in practice sessions, as long as they're official. But there is a different factor applied, which you can see in this chart here. As an example, if you crash into someone in the short 2-minute practice session before a race, which actually results in a 4x for both of you, the impact on your safety ratings will only be half, since the factor is 0.5 for practice and warm-up sessions. You can find the chart in the official iRacing sporting code at 3611. A bonus tip on how to avoid getting at least a single 1x in your next race due to high karma is to hit the like button, and if you haven't already, by subscribing to my channel. You will for sure avoid the next 4x because my upcoming content will brace you against whatever you might face in the future. Thanks. It sounds weird, but you can even inherit incident points. As mentioned before, if you tap another car lightly, both drivers will get a 0x. However, if the other driver loses control even by a light contact, which results in him getting a 2x, then you will inherit his 2x as well. As long as the 0x incident message at the top of your screen is showing, you can inherit points. That's for approximately 4 seconds. One thing which actually keeps you from gaining more than 20 incident points in one single accident is that you can only gain a total of 4 incident points in short successions. So if someone crashes into you badly and you take out 3 more cars while losing control and slamming into a wall, you'll not get like 54 incident points and be disqualified 3 times. You'll still get only a 4x in this case. This is due to preventing total chaos and too quick of a disqualification, because depending on the length of the race, you can only gain a certain amount of incident points before you're being DQ'd. You can find out how many incident points you're allowed to get in the first black box called lap timing. By default, the shortcut for this black box is F1. Most race series will allow you to get up to 17 incident points, while the 17th one will terminate your race due to a disqualification. Some series will even allow for 25 or even up to 100 incident points because the race duration is much longer, but in some events you'll still get a drive-through penalty after every 17 incident points regardless of the maximum allowed count. Endurance series, like the Daytona 24 Hours for example, allow for a lot more incident points than like 20-minute race events. Destroying or damaging your car due to false operation is not going to give you any incident points, by the way. This means if you cook your engine by over-revving it, you won't get a penalty for that. Also things like blowing the transmission with rapid downshifts, running out of fuel, or even destroying the suspension with excessive jumps. Won't result in any sort of penalty which affects your safety rating. Most of these will simply just end your race. Gathering all of that information was quite a bit of work, so make sure to like the video if it was helpful and subscribe if you don't want to miss future content like this. It certainly would help the channel a lot. Also, feel free to drop a comment if you think that I forgot to mention anything related to iRacing's penalty system. Take care, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you soon, guys.